Alright, so here's the deal. I've been doing this self-improvement thing for a little over 5 years now, and it's helped my life tremendously. I've stopped a lot of my bad habits, built a business online, and gotten rid of most of my self-limiting beliefs. But the one thing that I've had trouble with until this day is handling my life when it feels like everything is working against me. When I have a plan of how things will go, and I think of how good it will feel to accomplish those things, but the universe says, I don't think so, let's you up instead. I get pretty heated. When you get that angry, it's like a completely new being takes you over, and your normal self is watching your outraged self cause chaos and havoc from a distance, and you can't do anything about it. Anger is an undeniable human emotion, and it should not be suppressed. Suppressing it only makes the anger worse. But if anger has more control over you than you'd like to admit, you've probably asked yourself more than once, how the f do I stop being so angry when things don't go my way? I had the same question for years, until I had a singular event that finally made things click and my mindset towards hard times changed dramatically. A couple of weekends ago, I decided to take a trip to New York City. I was invited by my tech YouTuber friend, and we were meeting a bunch of other tech YouTubers there that I've talked to online but have always wanted to meet in person. I hadn't taken a true vacation since last December when I visited Austin, and I really wanted to meet these guys, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to just relax and chill for a little. But when I finally touched down, I was reminded of what New York City is actually like. People constantly on the move, honking horns, flashing lights, all in a city that never sleeps. We visited Central Park, went out to eat, got to meet awesome people, and explore some really dope locations. And despite it being way more fast-paced than I thought it would be, I was still able to keep up with everything and remain level-headed. That is, until what happened the very last day. By the last full day of the trip, I was pretty beat, so I didn't want to do anything too intense. So I thought, you know what, I'm in New York City, one of the fashion capitals of the world, let me invest in my wardrobe and cop some nice shoes. Shopping is a low-intensity activity by any means, right? So I walk about 15 minutes from the apartment I was staying at to the nearest Foot Locker, and I see a particular pair of Nikes that stand out to me. I ask them for my size, but unfortunately, they don't have it. So they tell me, go to the nearest Foot Locker from here and check there. Luckily, it's only about 10 minutes away. So I walk another 10 minutes over there and ask the first worker I see for the shoes that I wanted. They take a look in the back, and unfortunately, again, they don't have the shoe in my size. But at this Foot Locker, the worker was carrying a small device that allowed them to look up the nearest stores that have the shoes in my size. And luckily, they found one only about a mile away. Things were starting to look up for me, and I thought, cool, okay, once I go to this Foot Locker and get my shoes, then I can just chill for the rest of the day before my flight. But before I left this Foot Locker, I walked past a shoe that was surrounded by a glass display on all sides. It was mostly white, with a light blue stroke surrounding the burgundy logo. It was the New Balance 550s, these super fresh, old school looking shoes that were very in style recently and a little hard to find. It was then that I remembered that my girlfriend told me that she was looking for these exact shoes not too long ago. And I took that as a sign that I will get these shoes for her before I go back to Austin. So I left the store and walked about 20 minutes over to the next Foot Locker. When I arrived, I asked for the shoe that I wanted and in my size. And luckily, like the last store said, they had it. Now all I needed to do was find those New Balance 550s in my girlfriend's size. I asked the store I was already in, and unfortunately they didn't have them. But then they used that little store locator thingy again that they used in the last store, and luckily found a place in Soho about 25 minutes away from me if I traveled through the subway. Hearing this, I was hyped. I finally had a place where I knew had these shoes that were sold out nearly everywhere. But unfortunately, before I could head over there, I had to wait inside for 30 minutes because it was pouring rain. And during that time, I just remember telling myself, it's alright because good things are going to come to me if I'm patient and I wait. Yeah, so. After anxiously waiting for the rain to stop to finally get this search over with, I got on the nearest subway, made my way down to Soho, and walked inside the Foot Locker. There was a worker right by the door, so I decided to just ask them instead of looking for the shoe myself. Hey, do you have the New Balance 550s in women's? As I confidently smiled at the worker awaiting a positive positive response, they gave me a doubtful look. Don't think so, but let me check. They checked the wall where they would be, and the worker said, "Unfortunately, no, we don't. Sorry." Without trying to sound like a male Karen, I calmly said, "But I was told you guys had them in stock. The last Foot Locker I was at looked them up and said they were in stock at this store." "Yeah, I don't know how that happened," the guy said. "Sorry, man." By this point, my exhaustion from running around the whole city for hours now and having expected to find the shoe already made it very difficult for me to contain my frustration. But I kept telling myself, I didn't see that glass case for nothing. I am meant to find this shoe eventually, and I will. So I asked the guy, "You know of any stores around here that might have the shoe?" There weren't any Foot Locker stores when he checked on the little device thingy, but luckily he told me to check out a streetwear store named Keith about half a mile away. So I left the last Foot Locker I'd go to, and on my way over there I'm thinking, this is it. This is where I find the shoe. There's no way they don't have it. About 10 minutes later, I arrived, and I'm in the store looking through their nicely displayed wall of shoes. I asked a worker if they have them, and he said that if they did have it, it would be on that wall. And unfortunately, it's not there. I walk out the store looking defeated. 4 hours wasted. But luckily, I still have a sliver of hope. Since starting self-improvement, I've always had this never give up mentality, that if I truly want to make something happen, I can make it happen. That type of mindset has helped me go a very long way. It's the type of mindset I developed reading book summaries like 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think using the sponsor of today's video, Shortform. If you aren't familiar with it yet, Shortform is a platform that produces high-quality guides to non-fiction books. All their book summaries contain comprehensive coverage of all the book's key ideas, clearly and simply explained, plus smart commentary and analysis. And my favorite part about Shortform, and the reason why I think it's so much better than all these other book summary platforms, is the fact that they give you exercises to do in the app so you can apply what you've learned. A book summary that really impacted me recently and reminded me of the importance of mindset was 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think by Brianna Weist. And in it, she talks about how your thoughts determine how you interpret everything, which I'm going to explain later in this video. 3 categories I think you guys would really like are psychology, relationships, and self-improvement. And they're always dropping new book guides every single week, so you always have something new to read. So if you're interested, you can get 5 days of unlimited access and an additional 20% discount on the annual subscription if you join it through my special link, which is shortform.com/Cole. And this will give you access to thousands of book guides for the price of just 1 book a month. So as I'm standing outside Keith, in a last effort to find some shoes, I text my girlfriend what's been going on, ruin the surprise, and ask her if there's any other shoes she's been looking for. And she responds with, "Oh, I know, there's these Converses that I really wanted," and she sends me a picture of them. I quickly go to my Maps app and look up Converse. And luckily, there's a Converse store only half a mile away. And I think to myself, so this is why I was meant to struggle. Because these are the shoes that she will really be excited to get. All of this happened for a reason. But I look at my phone again and I don't have much time. It's 7:45 and the store closes at 8. In a mad dash, covered in sweat and anticipation, I make it to the store at 7:54. I walk up to the door and the security guard is standing on the inside of it. I try to open the door, but it doesn't budge. He motions that the store is closed. And unfortunately, there was nothing I could do. Here I was, thinking I was going on this journey for the universe to show me that after the struggle, there's always light. But I never reached it. And I had to settle for buying perfume at the Sephora across the street. Still a decent gift, but not at all what I wanted. And this is when my mindset started to shift. When I left Sephora, I got a text from the New York City group chat we made with all the people I met in it saying they just booked a place for dinner. And out of all the places it could be in the city, it was somehow just half a mile away from Sephora. Before this experience I just had, I would have immediately thought to myself, so that's why I had to go through all this and get on the subway to Soho, to be only half a mile away from the place we were going to dinner and to get some perfume. It all worked out in the end. But after everything I had gone through that day, I took a step back and challenged my usual way of thinking. The way of thinking that was always adding expectations to the outcomes of events. So often, I am quick to immediately put a label on a situation. Getting injured is bad and leads to bad outcomes. I won't be able to work out for a while. A YouTube video doing well is good and leads to good outcomes. I'll gain more exposure and money. And above all that, even though I label individual situations as either good or bad, I always think to myself, this is all happening for a good reason and will lead to something good in the end. But is that way of thinking really that beneficial or even very accurate? I'm aware that everything is up to your own interpretation and you have the power to choose whether you see something as good or bad. But was it really helping me in this situation to not give up and keep running around the city looking for these shoes because I was meant to find them eventually? The truth is, the nature of the universe is too infinitely complex to know what the outcome will really be in certain situations, no matter how much you believe an outcome will happen. And whether things turn out good in the end depends on where you decide to stop a certain chain of events. I kept using the words unfortunately and luckily throughout this whole story to prove to you that each new event that happened to me was not unfortunate or lucky, but rather just an unpredictable event. It was only unfortunate or lucky based on my interpretation of it. So let's say right now you are constantly getting on by the universe. If you have this expectation of something good is coming after this dark period and it doesn't actually come, then you'll actually be worse off than you would be had you not attached any label to what was happening or going to happen. For example, let's say you meet a girl online and the conversations you guys are having are going really well. So you start expecting that this girl is the one and that this whole thing is going to blossom into a beautiful relationship. And then you meet her in real life, embarrass yourself, and she doesn't want to second date. You would be way more upset due to having expectations than if you simply just enjoyed texting this girl and when the time to meet up finally came, you just said, well, whatever happens here happens. That angry or upset version of yourself that we talked about at the start of the video only comes out when you have expectations as to how the outcome of something should play out. Now, I'm not saying you should abandon hope for your future completely. We humans thrive when we have something to look forward to and strive towards. But if you're continuously getting dunked on by the universe, maybe it's not in your best interest to think, yeah, this is all happening for a reason and it'll all be good in the end. Because maybe it will be, but maybe it won't be. And whether it will or won't be will be up to your immediate interpretation of the situation. Maybe right now, it's in your best interest to just do things without expecting some sort of outcome from them. And because you adopt that mindset, you'll be okay whatever the outcome may be. What I've learned is that life is gonna surprise you with positive outcomes for things that you thought were gonna be bad for you, and negative outcomes for things that you thought were gonna be good for you. The unpredictable nature of things is far too complex to know in the end. So when I finally got to that restaurant in Soho, just half a mile away from Sephora, I no longer thought to myself, I knew something good was going to come out of this in the end. Because maybe, after we sat down at our table outside the restaurant, I could randomly get hit by a car. And if that would have happened with my old mindset, I would have thought to myself, I knew I shouldn't have gone to Soho to look for shoes. That led to something bad happening. Instead, I should have asked myself, is finding a pair of shoes for myself and my girlfriend what I really want to do today in this moment, even if the outcome doesn't turn out to be what I had hoped for? And I'd think to myself, yeah, this is what I want to do. Then remove all expectations and do it anyway. And by that point, whether I really did or didn't get the shoes would no longer matter. Big thank you to all the patrons on this channel on Patreon. If you don't know what this is, it's a platform separate from YouTube where I'm putting out exclusive content you can't find anywhere else. You can also talk to me one-on-one over the phone on there. If you want to check that out, link in the description. If you like these videos where I talk about altering your mindset in a more beneficial way, check out this video right here. Could help you a lot. And I'm signing off. Goodbye, everybody. Remove your expectations from things sometimes.